It is difficult to say who truly benefited from World War I, as it was a devastating conflict that resulted in the loss of millions of lives and had far-reaching consequences. However, some countries did emerge from the war in a stronger position than others. For example, the United States emerged as a world power after the war. Its economy grew fast as Europe, which had previously been the hub of all mills and factories, was devastated by the war. The international influence of America began increasing significantly after World War I, including in Europe and Asia, superscript 1. On the other hand, many countries suffered greatly due to the war. The defeated Central Powers, including Germany and Austria-Hungary, faced territorial losses and economic instability. The war also led to the fall of four great imperial dynasties: Germany, Russia, Austria-Hungary, and Turkey. It resulted in the Bolshevik Revolution in Russian Empire. The Russian Empire was one of the world's largest empires during World War I. It stretched from the Baltic Sea to the Pacific Ocean and from the Arctic Circle to the Black Sea. The Romanov dynasty ruled the empire, which had been in power for over 300 years. The Russian Empire entered World War I on the Allies' side in 1914. The war was a disaster for Russia, and the country was unprepared for war, and its military was quickly defeated. The war also led to widespread economic hardship and social unrest. 1917, the Russian Revolution overthrew the Romanov dynasty and established a communist government. The new government withdrew Russia from the war, and the empire collapsed. Austro-Hungarian Empire. The Austro-Hungarian Empire was a multi-ethnic empire that was located in Central Europe. It was ruled by the Habsburg dynasty, which had been in power for over 600 years. The Austro-Hungarian Empire entered World War I on the side of the Central Powers in 1914. The war was a disaster for the empire. The country was divided by ethnic and religious tensions, and its military was quickly defeated. In 1918, the Austro-Hungarian Empire collapsed. The empire was divided into smaller countries: Austria, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, and Yugoslavia. Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire was a Muslim empire located in the Middle East. It had been in existence for over 600 years. The Ottoman Empire entered World War I on the side of the Central Powers in 1914. The war was a disaster for the empire. The country was weakened by economic hardship and social unrest, and its military was quickly defeated. In 1922, the Ottoman Empire collapsed. The empire was divided into smaller countries: Turkey, Syria, Iraq, and Lebanon. German Empire. The German Empire was a federal empire that was located in Central Europe. It was ruled by the Hohenzollern dynasty, which had been in power for over 400 years. The German Empire entered World War I on the side of the Central Powers in 1914. The war was a disaster for Germany. The country was defeated militarily and economically, and its political system was discredited. In 1918, the German Empire collapsed, and the empire was replaced by the Weimar Republic. The collapse of these four empires profoundly impacted the course of history. It led to the creation of new countries, the redrawing of borders, and the rise of new ideologies, such as communism and fascism. It also set the stage for World War II. Before World War I, the United States was a net debtor in international capital markets. However, it was already an economic superpower, with its wealth and industrial output rivaling Europe's much older imperialist powers. The last quarter of the 1800s had been one of the most expansionist and profitable in American history, laying the groundwork for America's modern capitalist economy. Among the features to emerge in the late 1800s were gigantic corporations, transportation and communications networks, the growth of heavy industries, and banking and financial organizations. The United States took advantage of its position as a neutral power during the early years of World War I. American businesses could trade with both sides, and the economy boomed. When the United States entered the war in 1917, it could finance its war effort through taxes and borrowing. The country emerged from the war as a significant creditor nation and began investing large amounts internationally. Most sources agree on the statistics of the lives lost during World War I. Russia lost the most civilian casualties, 1.7 million souls. But that is only 50% of its national loss. Another 1.7 million souls perished in the military. Oddly, and this might be a video for another day, is the resounding loss of the Greeks. Out of the 125,000 souls lost, 100,000 of them were civilians. That makes Greece the most affected proportionately in civilian casualties compared to all the other nations. Russia lost the most with 1.7 million, Germany 700,000, Austria-Hungary lost 800,000, and Turkey, Serbia, France, the UK and Italy together, marking another 1 million civilian losses. There were many reasons why there were so many civilian losses in World War I. Some of the most significant factors include the use of new weapons and tactics. World War I was the first major conflict to see the widespread use of new weapons and tactics, such as machine guns, tanks, and chemical weapons. These weapons and tactics were much more destructive than those used in previous wars, resulting in more civilian casualties. The mobilization of entire societies. In World War I, entire communities were mobilized for war. This meant that civilians were not only targets of attack but also forced to work in factories and other industries that supported the war effort. This made them even more vulnerable to attack. The disruption of food supplies. The war disrupted food supplies in many parts of the world. This led to widespread famine and disease, which claimed the lives of millions of civilians. The deliberate targeting of civilians. In some cases, civilians were deliberately targeted by the warring powers. This was most notably the case in the Armenian genocide, in which the Ottoman Empire killed an estimated 1.5 million Armenians. These factors led to many civilian casualties in World War I. It is estimated that between 6 and 13 million civilians died due to the war. This makes World War I one of the deadliest conflicts in human history.